The Packers host the Texans in a big mid-season matchup in a game that we all circled when the schedule was released. The Packers are getting healthy and starting to click at the right time, and this game could be a Super Bowl preview. Let's dive in.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah, ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm cashed.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sounds Gouda. My name is Jordan Olson, and my co-host and best friend and legendary man himself over here, Rob Ralph. How you doing today, Rob?
Doing real well. As we're recording this, the Packers absolutely kicked the crap out of the Cardinals and played a complete game. So how could you be nothing but extremely happy and optimistic about this Packers team?
That's right. You know, as always, thanks for being here, folks. To our new and returning listeners, we're super thankful to anybody that passes along the good word about the Sounds Gouda podcast and the content that we're putting out there. And we've got new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday being game recaps, Saturdays being the preview for the coming week. So today is Saturday. You are hearing our preview for the Texans game, a big Texans game tomorrow. And we're excited as we open this up. I'm going to be there in person. I'm going with my brother, my dad, my uncle, my brother's wife, and her family is going to be there. I've got some other family. It's the winter whiteout game, so everybody dust off anything you got in white or go to the store and buy a white jersey or whatever. They want it to be a whiteout at Lambeau. They're debuting their new helmets, and they're all white look. And it's a really big game against the 5-1 Texans versus the 4-2 Packers at 1:00, which is kind of anticlimactic. I figured it would at least be like the afternoon game of the week or a Sunday night game, but I love noon games at Lambeau, so I'm excited nevertheless. And the Packers open up, depending on what sports book you're looking at either a 1.5 favorite or a 2.5 point favorite. So, Rob, what are you looking forward to about this matchup versus the Texans?
You know, it definitely hurts the Texans for them to have Nico Collins, which has arguably probably been one of the better, if not one of the top wide receivers in the game so far this year for all the wide receivers in the league. So for him to go on IR, that's definitely going to help out the Packers quite a bit because he's extraordinarily dangerous. But you know, don't let that fool you. They went out today and they beat the Patriots. Granted, it was Drake May's first start, but 41-21. You know, May did have 3 passing touchdowns. So the Texans is their usually pretty good secondary, getting a little bit leaky. And I think they're dealing with some injuries too, but they have a pretty good offensive line. Obviously, they have a really, really good quarterback. Joe Mixon came back today and had 102 yards and a touchdown on a 7-point yard per carry. Also had a big 59-yard carry and 30 reception yards and a reception TD. So Joe Mixon, who came over from the Bengals, he's very, very dangerous. Obviously, you have Stephon Diggs, who made an impact today too with 77 yards and a touchdown. Out goes Nico Collins, in comes Tank Dell, who had 57 yards and a tutty. So they have plenty of weapons. They can beat you in a multitude of different ways, and extraordinarily good head coach to boot, who's more of a defensive-minded head coach. And I think some of their additions, which I think we'll get into as well, will note that as well as far as helping them out and what they can do. But overall, just a really good team, somebody you can't take lightly, and something you just need to be able to build upon what you did really well against the Arizona Cardinals coming into this one. So, limit your penalties, be able to rush the ball really well, build some good play action off of that. And then again, win the turnover battle. I don't care if that's a couple interceptions. I don't care if that's some more strip fumbles for recovery or whatever it is. CJ Stroud can get out of the pocket, but he's nowhere near as crazy athletic as Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, etc. But he is a very good passer, and he can carve up your secondary if you don't come in ready to play.
Yeah, I look at this game, and they have plenty of firepower, as you said, but I'm looking at their defense, and I'm trying to figure out where we're going to be able to exploit their defense, because right now I believe that their defense is like 4th rated overall. They're excellent against the pass, or they have been up until today's game that they played against the Patriots. They're like 5th in pass yards given up per game. However, you did say that they're gonna have some. They have some injuries in the secondary. Cam Ward's out. Kamari Lassiter. I think Jonathan Bullock is out. I think it's Bullock, right? Yeah, Callan Bullock. Sorry, not Jonathan Bullock. Jonathan Bullock's another player around the league, but Callan Bullock has been beat up a little bit. And all of a sudden, a really strong secondary for them looks like that is a place where, with all of our firepower, maybe we could take advantage. The numbers up until today say that that's not possible, but I bet the Packers are going to pull a lot from that game tape and what rookie Drake May was able to do. And you know what? They're bad against the rush either. They're like 14th. They're like a mid-tier team against the rush. That's obviously a strength of ours. They only allowed 82 yards rushing the Pats to. They only allowed 82 yards rushing to the Pats though. So they did do a pretty good job of containing them. And Drake May actually was their leading rusher in that game. So doesn't say too much about the Pats running backs.
Yeah. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson, and coming in having your first start too, like. Drake May's I think he's going to be a good quarterback, at least for what it's obviously way too early to announce that. But, for what I've seen in preseason and just a little bit of the highlights I was catching from that game too as well. I mean, the kid can move, he can pass it, obviously three touchdowns a day. And, I think if they continue to start him, they're going to do really well. But this isn't a Patriots, Packers preview. This is the one with the Texans. But the Texans, absolutely handled the Patriots. So, they got a lot of firepower. They're good on defense, but you said you got to find a couple of those weak spots. Maybe being a 14th or 15th mid of the league as far as rushing goes. I feel like we say this every episode, but continue to run the ball, right? Continue to run the ball. You run the ball effectively. Your offensive line plays good and clean and can get some running lanes open. It only leads to really good things. So that's obviously going to be another massive input for this game plan, I'm sure.
Well, that was going to be my question to you, Rob, is that if you're Matt LaFleur, what matchups are you trying to take advantage of if on the Packers offensive side of the ball, if you're looking at their defense? Are you going exactly like that? Are you going heavy on Josh Jacobs in the run game to open up the passing game, or do you have something else in mind?
Yeah, for sure. I think they're going to do their motions. They're going to try and get the linebackers out of sync, going east to west as far as having to cover all of the field. I feel like they've been doing a really really good job of that. Having Christian Watson who can beat you with some straight up speed, that'll stretch that defense, especially them being injured in the back half there too, and that only opens up everything else, right, for the mid type of your field, for some of these middle type of crossers, stuff towards the boundaries as well too. So it's we say it's going to be tough on the Packers to be able to stop the Texans, but Texans have that right back with us for the Packers. If we can continue limiting the penalties, if we can run the ball efficiently and use that as running the ball first mentality, I think that we can create a lot of really good plays against the Texans. And they've shown that they can be beat. I think of what the Vikings did to them a couple weeks ago too as well. But it seems like the Vikings are doing that to everybody. But there's a lot of opportunities. They do play in a dome, right? And they're coming up. Hopefully it'll be nice and cold, white out too as well. And I don't know if that really had a massive impact on Kyler Murray and the Cards, but from being a warm weather team to come up here and kind of experience that wet, damp, cold type of weather, it makes a difference, right? So let's bring on the cold.
It's looking to be much more seasonably favorable next weekend. I've looked as I'm going to the game, and I think it's calling for about 66 and sunny. Not quite 49 and rainy, which obviously for any of people who live in the north, 49 and rainy feels like it's 39, and
Yeah.
it sucks. So I look at where the Packers might look to exploit them, and I do really think that we have a plethora of offensive weapons, and I think that we're gonna continue to try to scheme up stuff for Jaden Reed. That's like a super chalk answer, but I don't know that they're going to have an answer for him. I think that he's going to have a big day. They kind of, even though they targeted him 6 times which is the most of any Packers receiver last week. I could easily see another 4, 5, 6 targets for Jaden Reed, some more end-around design looks, and continue to unlock him in this offense. And Jordan Love's going to have a big day. If Jordan Love makes smart decisions, he's going to find holes in that secondary, especially if they're beat up, and find the open guy. So if you are the Packers defense, surprisingly, you think the Texans, and you think, oh, they're going to be like one of the top 4 or 5 offenses in the league, right? You've got Diggs, you've got Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, you've got Mixon, you've got CJ Stroud, which is obviously a phenomenal second-year player. But the Texans right now are only ranked 10th in total offense coming into today's game anyways. I expect that to take a jump, but it's probably still going to only be somewhere in the teens because they were only averaging about 20 points a game coming into week 6. They're second in pass yards per game, but they're 23rd in the league in rush yards per game. Again, these stats were coming into week 6, so these will change a little bit. But if you're trying to stop that offense, for me, it looks like right now that they utilize Joe Mixon pretty heavily in this game without Nico Collins. They used him as a rusher. They also used Damian Pierce, which had like 76 yards. So I think Jeff Hafley better be awfully fixated on trying to stop the run. But it's like, that's really dangerous because obviously CJ Stroud can dice you up in the air. So I don't know. It's like, figure out what the lesser of two evils are. What's the lesser of two evils for you?
Yeah, I mean, me and you, we can tell we're best friends because we think on the same mold. But absolutely, man, stop the run. Yeah, they're gonna get theirs, no doubt. But I know our secondary is really, really good and definitely one of our strengths on our defense. I think the stats would point that though out as well. So I can't imagine they're going to take too many deep balls. Just knowing that Xavier McKinney's back there, maybe they'll take a couple more shots than the Arizona Cardinals did. But you just know that at any moment too, when they're playing cover 1 or they're showing cover 2, and then dropping back and playing cover 1, and Xavier McKinney's back there, and you're trying a deep ball, he's going to be somewhere around that ball pretty consistently. So to me, limit your Joe Mixon, limit the rushing attack, make him one-dimensional. Obviously, us getting up big, and for any team too, would help kind of dictate that too. So another fast start against the Texans, 7-0, 10-0 by the time the first quarter's over. I'm not going to go 14-0 because then those games kind of most of the time get out of hand and are good for the Packers when they can do that, like they did today against the Arizona Cardinals. But make them one-dimensional, and then you know what? How about a couple sacks in this game? Let's actually get one on the books here for Rashawn Gary, and get him going again too. I know CJ Stroud, he can get out of the pocket too as well, but he's not quite as elusive as some of those other quarterbacks too. But pressure on the quarterback, come with your unique blitzes. Continue to get Evan Williams on the field, because he can show that he continues to take the ball away as he did, punched out the ball against the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe play Bullard a little bit more in the slot. That way you can utilize Evan Williams in there. And, let's try and get a better game, too, from Quay Walker, because I know you've seen it as well, too. But where people are killing us has been over the middle. It's been pretty consistent. That's what the Cardinals were doing, pass after pass. And I get it. It's hard to stop a good tight end, but those are some of the keys I'm thinking about.
If you have Dalton Schultz, it might be a good to start him against the Packers, because I haven't seen it yet from the Packers linebackers to cover tight ends. And while Dalton Schultz maybe isn't quite as good as Trey McBride, he's certainly a guy who can take advantage of some of those situations. But yeah, I think just to put a bow on, how the Packers beat the Texans, I think both teams are going to try to put it in the hands of the other quarterback to beat them. I think they're going to be both fixated on trying to stop the run. However, I think the Packers are better suited to try to eliminate CJ Stroud with a healthy secondary that they do have. So that may be a cocky proposition that I'm going to put trust in Jair and Xavier McKinney in the back end to get it done against CJ Stroud. But I'd rather have CJ beat us than for them to go for 170 yards and beat us on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of it will be, speaking of injuries, we don't know if we're going to have Dontavian Wicks back at this point in time. Luke Musgrave is going to be out for a while, so we'll be a little thinner on the receiving end, but I still think we have plenty of weapons. We talked about the offensive line last episode, and it'll be interesting to see if Meyer's out there at center or what combination of offensive line when we go with our starters across the five. So, no, at this point, when we record it very, very early in the week, don't have much insight there, but just something to note. And the Texans, we'll see how healthy they can get. I know that Shazier and Tunzel and a couple of those guys started. They have injuries, across the secondary, and that'll make a big impact. So why don't we jump into our score predictions here, Rob? What do you see as the outcome of this game versus the Texans?
Yeah, I think that you laid out the good game plan, how to beat a lot of different teams from today versus the Arizona Cardinals. So if you can run the ball, limit your penalties, be able to get unique ways to get some people open. We have a ton of weapons, even with Devontae Wicks if he's not out. If your line can hold up, you've been one of the better pass blocking units, if not one of the best in the league so far this year. At least that's what I was seeing from some PFF stats. And even today, not the Cardinals had a really good pass rush unit in general, but they had all day, absolutely all day. So if you can protect Love, give him some time to cook, he's going to find some guys that are going to get open. So give me 30 to 24 for the Packers.
Going 30 to 24, huh? I've got a one-score game. I see this coming down. I don't think that with the Texans defense being better than the Cardinals, I'm pretty hard-pressed to give them another 30-point game. But I do think that this is going to be a 27 to 23 victory for the Packers. I think it's a one-score game. I think it's another one of those stressful ones where maybe we have a lead late, and we need a defensive stop to keep CJ Stroud out of the end zone. I mean, how fun but horrifying would that be if Stroud ends up with the ball on a 2-minute drive to go down and win the game, 27 to 23. But how exhilarating would that be for another defensive stop and the Packers win a big one against a big, contender at home tomorrow at Lambeau. So,
especially with you and your family in attendance, right? It couldn't be any better than that.
Yeah, so Rob's going to close the show out, but my final words for you all, let's get hype at Lambeau tomorrow. I'll see you there. Let's have a good time. And, Rob, close us out.
Yeah, so we do appreciate it. As we were recording this earlier in the week, we are one subscriber away from 100, so maybe we've already hit that at this point, and the next big mile marker will be magical number 1,000. So it's been quite a journey so far. We appreciate everyone coming and listening to us. Just know that in season we do have new content coming out every Wednesday and every Saturday. Wednesday is the recap from the game before. Saturday is the preview for the upcoming game. And as those Thursday games come along, we'll kind of figure that one and let you guys know on our social channels. By the way, I am on X. I'm at Robbers79, and Jordan is at Olson Jord. Of course, we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So like I was just saying, please like and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts too as well. Make sure to tell a Packer friend or two. We genuinely appreciate it and love hearing from you guys and the interaction that we get. So let's go. Let's go and beat the Texans this week, especially with Jordan and 80,000 other amazing Packers fans there. And we hope you guys have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Take care. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack.
Been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.